Hey there. Here's kind of an impromptu Orby report, mostly just thinking out loud. Um, but I noticed that the bottleneck for production for any kind of ship is planetary materials. And with all of them focused out in Clover or Jita, um, I don't know if there's an easy way to really get traction, get the ball rolling, other than to focus on individual materials for production. I'm finding base metals to be the main choke point for any of my mining builds or cruisers or destroyers, any of the Minmatar ship builds really. But base metals seems to be the pinch point. And I'm not sure if I need to just reorient how I've got my planetary production laid out, or if I should start buying again. Because I've got enough saved up. I can do the same sort of manufacturing games that I played with Alpha Life. But with being an Omega, it's a lot easier to manufacture. So I'm not sure how to which way to lean. Because I want to fall back on the free-to-play model and using, resources and taking advantage of delivery missions and all of that. But I also want to focus on what an Omega can do that an Alpha can't. Hey, buds. And there really ain't much. So there's a lot that the bigger ships bring to the table, right? I'm able to strip shields off of player-owned stations really quick compared to what the best in Alpha can do. The best in Alpha can hope for is a shield an hour, and even just throwing together a battle cruiser with a tornado with large cannons, that cut that in half. And I'm a little unimpressed with how the tactical modules performed, like the sniper module or the bombard module. But being able to lob torpedoes at a station from 100 kilometers on a frigate, that's really good. The range itself is really good. It's the damage output that's underwhelming. And I'm sure there's ways to rig and specialize and get those numbers up, get the best of both worlds. But I'm pretty happy just throwing a battle cruiser out there, because nobody comes to play out where I'm at. And I think that's because I'm tucked in between two factions that are currently at war, and they're just kind of overlooking the unaffiliateds. But I stripped 3 shields today without any sort of contact. And I've got a 4th that I'm going to strip later on once I reach where I'm going. And those are kind of the big thoughts I got going on right now for Eve Echoes. Is the choke point that planetary materials represent, and how starved the market seems to be for those compared to how easy it is to get minerals. I haven't needed to mine for anything since the last writing session, last week. And I want to. I miss taking the time to turn big rocks into little rocks. Not just because it's when I'm most creatively productive, but it's also really relaxing. It's just good, comfortable. There's always the threat of danger, but no one comes into compressed spaces. So it's really easy to get a lot of resources. Getting tired of winning, basically. But I think most folks really have whaled out. They've forgotten the value that can be found in just being productive. How fulfilling it feels just to make blueprints. Just buying stuff and flipping it. That is, I could get on the treadmill and get a battleship. I read earlier today, someone was someone claimed that battleships were faster than cruisers, which, no, maybe a nightmare-ish? Not a nightmare. Yeah, maybe a nightmare, but even then it's got the Fiend and Succubus to compare to, so there's no way it's faster. I think it's a lot of cope. I think folks, they get super invested, they spend all sorts of money on ships and power, and they don't recognize that, like, all they're doing is driving themselves further and further into the negative. Like, if people approached Eve Echoes with the same sort of mentality that, oh, what's the name of it? A Billion Suns. Yeah, there's a good tabletop. A Billion Suns is a great game because every expense is kind of a bet. What you spend on the fleets that you field on the tables, and the tables are, there's multiple tables. It's not an individual tabletop game unless, you know, you're just learning. But you're trying to juggle resources. And that's pretty much like the Moneyball mentality in a nutshell for being successful in Eve Echoes. Like being able to play for free and still field Omega. Like, I've got enough saved up for another 2 or 3 months, and I've got a good steady production line. Like, I've done, I think, 40 or 50 ventures, 20 venture 2s, and I think 10 venture 3s. And I try and, like, keep all the ships I sell in either increments of 5 or 10, because I've been dishing out Thrasher fleet issues too, just so I have better scouts for the space that I'm occupying. And the battle cruisers do a lot of, like, heavy lifting, but I don't really like, beautiful right there. I love the sun. I don't really like fielding units that are so resource intensive, right? I'd much rather rat or you know, pick fights in a cruiser where you have the sort of escape. You've got the balance between utility and capability. Like, destroyers are all utility. The frigates are even more so, but they're specialized within the things that they are utility for. Destroyers can do it all poorly. But, like, I'm really falling in love with the Stabber. I want to get some ruptures out to turn back ITC, just to have, like, something to mix it up. I experimented with some of the old nano cores, especially the ones for the rupture that boost missiles, which is silly. But when your main strategy is built around being tanky, like, you can afford to get silly. And I was pretty pleased with how that shook out. I wanna start lobbing things out into the wild, because I've only had maybe one sour encounter out at Turnback, and it's just been all sorts of farming, resource gathering. So that's kind of where Orby's at the moment. Figuring out if I want to invest more in planetary materials, like refactor what I've got set up, either purchase more, which I think is going to be the goal. I think I'll just place orders out at Turnback, or maybe Hexrex, since it's neighboring and I don't want the heat, because there's a lot of Omegas out in the wild. They're just not fielding their materials out at the ITCs near them, because it's a lot easier for them to bring them into Clover, to Cheetah. Everything operates out of there, and they usually have, like, negotiated deals or means of transport around the gate camps. As an independent, like, you gotta pull everything yourself, which, I don't know, courier dictors are a thing, or not, yeah. Interdictors? No, what are they called? Interceptors, courier-ceptors, excuse me. I don't know. How are you? How's your day going? Hopefully you're having a good one. Thanks for hearing me ramble about nonsense for a book that I don't even know if I'm going to write. I know I want to, but I really need to finish Dead Saint Songs before I move on to anything. It'll probably be Dead Saint Songs, East of Aries, and then the next Orion's Belts. They'll probably have a different name for it when it gets to that point. I've already got a few articles like outlined, or at least ideas for what I want to write about. It's just a matter of rambling on a page where I can edit. Anyway, thanks for bearing with the unvarnished rambles. Have a good one. Bye.